Hello, welcome, and thanks for tuning in. In this tutorial, we're going to be discussing certain features of the algorithm module of C++, and for that we're going to be generating a list of random numbers. So let's get started. I'm going to create a folder. Let's call it algorithm 2, 3. I'll be using the IDE Visual Code. Before, from the command line, just typed in code dot. It will launch the IDE automatically. We can then head on to create a main file, which is the entry file for the program. From here we can start by including the libraries that we need. IOStream is the first one. We will be working with a vector, so we include vector module, and we'll be using algorithms, therefore we will include the algorithm module from the standard library. Next, we define the first function, the main function. You just have to type in main and hit enter on Visual Code. It will auto-complete the rest of the function. And here we will start in by creating a vector. In order to create a vector and make it simple, we just have to include using what's called vector using std double column vector, and inside of the body of the function we can define our vector by writing vector. It's going to be a vector of integers, and I will call it VE. It is declared with empty parameters. There's no values inside, because we're going to be populating values with a feature from the algorithm library. So that feature is called generate, and if you cannot find it, you can just simply type in std : generate n. It will autocomplete. So now that we have generate n, we can simplify by just start using std generate n. That way we don't need to type in the whole string down here. Once we have the generate n, this is a template function, so we need to use inside here a back insert. This is an iterator, the back inserter, and we can then also simplify it by using std back inserter up here in the definition. Once we have that simplified, we can remove the std calling and pass in our vector. So after the vector, as we can see here, we have a size. We have to determine the size. How long would the vector be? Let's make a vector of 10 items followed by a comma. We can then create the generator. The generator is going to be a lambda function, a lambda expression. As we'll know, a lambda expression follows this pattern. Here we're going to return. First of all, we need to define or declare an integer which will hold a counter. We initialize it by 0, and here we just returned I++, and the compiler is telling us there's something wrong here. It's highlighting something wrong, so most likely we need to pass include the variable inside the closure. So we pass in an ampersand, and next will be to compile the code. We compile, is again showing us an error here. We're missing a semicolon. We compile again. Still complaining at the same spot. It's missing a semicolon here. So we need to check out what the problem is. Expect an expression, it says. So actually the semicolon is supposed to go inside the lambda expression. We compile again, and still complaining. Now we have an extra symbol here, needs to be removed. We compile once more, and this time it finished successfully. So if we execute this application, it's not gonna do anything that we can see on the screen. So in order to see what we just created, we have to use a for loop in which we are going to loop through the whole vector, and with std cout we're going to express or print on screen going to print on screen what we just did. So we compile once more, and if we run this application on the command line, we can see that we have generated 10 items inside of an array. As you can see, we can just probably put more on 10 items, compile again, and there you go. So as you can see, this is the code over here. We are using IOStream vector algorithm, and the generate8 is a template function which belongs to the algorithm module or implementation of the standard library. We are creating vector, which is also a templated function. We can pass in, instead of integers, we can pass anything here because it's a templated function. It's one of the latest features of C++ after specification 14 or 11, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, that's pretty much a little example of how to interact with algorithms and using features of the standard library in C++. Thanks for watching, and cheers.